All right, guys, it is time for our weekly partnership segment with The Lever, and joining us to discuss her latest reporting is Julia Rock, a reporter with that outfit. Great to see you, Julia.
Great to see you. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So before we get into this, you guys have announced a new podcast. Let's go ahead and put this up on the screen so people know what it is and where to find it. It's called Lever Time, and it is hosted by David Sirota. Julia, just give us a little bit of a taste of what the podcast will include.
Yeah, I mean, everything from politics to culture. We've sort of framed it as the oppositional podcast to Pod Save America. So listen to that. It'll be basically covering the same issues, but in sort of an opposite direction.
Gotcha. So if you hate the Pod Save bros, watch this podcast instead. All right, let's get to your reporting. This is the reason why we are so supportive of what you guys do there, because you're always breaking important stories that are getting undercovered or completely ignored by the media. This latest one is a perfect example. Go ahead and put it up on the screen there, guys. You report Biden is preparing to crush a historic climate change lawsuit. A vital effort to establish a legal right to a living planet could soon move forward, but the Biden administration is trying to stop us. Stop it. Give us the backstory here, Julia.
Yeah, so this is a lawsuit that was filed back in 2015 when Obama was president, and the lawsuit is really ambitious. It's seeking to establish a constitutional right to a livable planet. And, you know, the Obama administration and then especially the Trump administration fought tooth and nail to make sure this lawsuit never got a trial. What the plaintiffs want is a trial. So there's sort of a big public discussion of whether there should be a constitutional right to a livable planet. And now that Biden's in office, I think the youth plaintiffs who had filed the suit initially really hoped that there would be sort of a different approach from the Trump administration, and that has not been the case. Biden didn't really come to the table in settlement talks, and now his Justice Department is threatening that if the case gets a ruling to move ahead to a trial, they'll do everything they can to block it.
This seems like kind of a long shot approach, the idea of grounding in the constitutional right to a livable planet, but they have actually gotten some traction in the court system thus far. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, so it certainly is a long shot approach. I don't want to downplay that. But the lawsuit, I think, has seen more success maybe than initially expected, and sort of more than legal observers would have expected. So one of the really big moments for the lawsuit was back in 2016 when a federal judge in Oregon declared, yeah, I have no question that there is a constitutional right to a livable planet. The case was then dismissed in 2020 by a federal circuit court, but even sort of in discussions about the case, the judges didn't question the merits of the claim. They dismissed it on standing grounds, and they sort of made comments to the effect of, well, yes, burning fossil fuels is heating up the planet, and yes, there are sort of questions about whether you could exercise other rights if you aren't living in a livable climate. So I think it has been sort of surprising to observers the extent to which judges have been even open to the types of claims the lawsuit is making. But yeah, especially, that declaration back in 2016 from a federal judge was really the first time any federal judge had even acknowledged that this is a right that might exist.
And so what is the plaintiff's argument specifically about how a right to a livable planet might be derived from our Constitution?
Yeah, so the main part of the argument is rooted in what's known as the public trust doctrine, which dates back to Roman law. It's sort of this old conservative legal principle that sort of the government or the sovereign holds the natural resources of the country in the public trust, and so it can't destroy those resources because those resources sort of belong to the citizens. And what the plaintiff's lawyers will say is, yes, this is an old conservative legal argument we're making, and we're sort of appealing to a conservative bench. The other part of the argument is one that people might be more familiar with, which is this argument that has come up a lot in big constitutional case law, which is that you can't exercise other rights that the Constitution guarantees if you don't first have this thing, and this thing is a livable planet.
And so what would the Biden administration say about why they are opposed to this case moving forward? In what ways would this sort of tie the hands of the administration?
Yeah, so One thing I've seen in a number of cases I've actually reported on where, the Justice Department is opposing something that would be good for a lot of people is they're saying basically we can't do this. Like this is sort of untenable for us. And in this case, if the plaintiffs were successful, in the Supreme Court in declaring that this is a constitutional right that does exist, it would allow every new federal law or government policy to be measured, to face the legal test of, is this going to threaten the future of a livable planet? And that would be a really sweeping change in how federal laws are made, because, many laws right now and many things the federal government does, of course, expand fossil fuel infrastructure and are contributing to the warming of the planet.
Yeah, well, it's a very novel and interesting approach to say the least, and also very revealing the way the Biden administration has decided to fight tooth and nail against it. Julia, thank you so much for your analysis and reporting on this.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Our pleasure. And thank you guys so much for watching. We'll have more for you later. Cable news is ripping us apart, dividing the country, making it impossible to function as a society, and making it impossible to know just what is true and what is false. But the good news is they are failing and they know it.
That is why we're building something new, a new mainstream, a healthier one, something more trustworthy, something that we are going to need in one of the most pivotal times in American history. We are building up here for the midterms, for the upcoming presidential election, but we need your help. So if you can help us out by becoming a premium member today at breakingpoints.com, we're trying to change America for the better and the entire world.
So what are you waiting for, guys? Go to breakingpoints.com and sign up and help us build a new mainstream.